Hold on a second. Fire at church? Oh yeah. Man, this episode is literally lit. Stay tuned, guys. It's about to get way crazier, and I'm so glad you're here for our new Sunday School series. Guys, I am so excited you guys are joining us today. This is not a Listen with Lammy video. No, this is actually, we're going to stream our Sunday School lessons. And so today, guys, Mr. Ted has an amazing lesson from you guys, for you guys in the book of Daniel. And I mean, you just saw it's literally lit, and it gets way more lit as you'll see in just a moment. But I was so impressed. Mr. Ted did an amazing job, and not just that, but the story is amazing. I mean, we're about to hear an amazing story. You might have heard it before, called Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego in the book of Daniel. So I hope you guys will jump with us, and every Sunday for the near future, we'll be streaming / recording our Sunday school lessons, and I'll be editing the best I can. So yeah, guys, jump along board. It's gonna be awesome. So I hope you guys watch the whole video. It's pretty great, and yeah, let's see some more fire.
I'm so excited. My name is Mr. Ted. We missed being able to start this unit last week the way we were wanting to, but it's going to be fantastic. We're starting a new unit on the three, what do we call them? The free friends and the fiery furnace. We'll call it that. This was during a really difficult and dark time in Israel's history. They had a lot of bad ruling, a lot of bad kings right there at this time. And at the time, King Zedekiah was the ruler of Judah, and he was a really bad guy. Really, really bad guy. And so God allowed another king from Babylon. His name was King Nebuchadnezzar. He allowed him to come in and basically with his army were able to take control of Jerusalem. And so the Israelites had kind of a new leadership. Now, it was not really a fair trade-off in a way. King Nebi wasn't as mean and ornery, maybe as King Zedekiah, but Nebi had his own faults. He had, as Babylon's king, they had different gods that they worshipped. And so this was a time where the Israelites had a lot of compromising they had to make, or not make. And so that's where our story kind of comes from, is these four friends. Now, one name that you'll recognize, one boy's name was Daniel. And that's a whole other fantastic story with Daniel in the lion's den. But his other three friends is who we're going to be talking about today. And they had different names while they were in Judah and while they were in Jerusalem. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know their names because in a way I feel like we should actually be calling them by their given names. Their names were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. That's what their given names were. But when King Nebi came in and he kind of swept up all the important people and the prettiest women and the wisest men, and he took them back to Babylon with his army, and he just planned on having a great ruling with these fantastic people. And these three friends, he was was willing to train them to be in government positions in Babylon. And so he gave them new names. And so now we know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And many of you may have already heard this story, but it's one of the fantastic stories that we are able to read from the Bible, straight from the Bible, that just reminds us of the incredible power and grace that our God has. And the story goes, he was also training them to worship the other gods. And so one of the things that King Nebi did is he got kind of full of himself. He was so proud of how his army was defeating all these cities and was becoming so powerful. And he took a lot of that pride on himself. And so he was convinced that he needed to build an image of himself. This huge, 90-foot image of him. And it was gold, made out of solid gold. And he was convinced and he was encouraged by his underlings that he was to have everybody to bow down. Once he played this particular music, it's kind of like his theme music maybe, that everybody was to bow down to this 90-foot gold statue of himself. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego felt, no, we can't do that because it was breaking the commandments. I mean, there's a commandment that says, I shall not, worship any other idols. And so bowing down to another idol was going to compromise that. We try now to compromise ourselves in our Christian faith. So here's these three friends, and understand, they were probably only about 14 years old. So they were young enough, they probably could maybe convince themselves that it was not going to be a big deal. Well, I can bow down just to appease the king. We do that a lot in life. I'm really not, my heart is not doing it, but I'll do it just to make everybody else feel good. We kind of do that with the masks sometimes. We want to protect ourselves, but sometimes we just do it for, to help other people and make them feel good, about where they're at. And that's okay. But we're not compromising our faith when we're putting a mask on. That's totally different. This, with this statue, with this idol, was going to compromise what they believed in. So, what they did is what they didn't do. They decided they were going to bow down. And so as they decided, I'm just going to use up this little bit that's in here. As they decided that, and again, King Nebi really liked these three. Like I said, he was training them to be, part of his committee. He was really disappointed. Now, he wanted to give him some grace. He kind of acted like, it's not a huge deal. Now his little councilman said, no, you've got to make an example. If they do it, then there's going to be other people that's going to want to do the same thing. So he says, well, all right, I hate to do this, but you're right. I'm going to have to just make an example of them. So he decides to have his army grab up the three boys, and they had a way of dealing with people like that. And they had this furnace, and they called it the fiery furnace. And it's an oven, huge, huge oven that you can actually just walk into. You walk into this huge oven. And he tells the soldiers that were manning this oven, he says, make it 7 times hotter. Now, a hot oven is already hot enough. I mean, it's going to burn you. When you walk into this, you're probably going to die within, a few seconds anyway. But 7 times hotter. I don't know what that would be in Fahrenheit degree calculations. I'm not even going to try. But that's going to be pretty doggone hot. Let me tell you how hot it was. It was so hot that when the soldiers grabbed the three boys and threw them in the furnace, that just being nearby the furnace and the open door, those soldiers were killed with the heat. They weren't even in the furnace, they were just throwing the boys in, and they died because of the heat, instantaneously. That's how hot the furnace ended up being. So here's these boys getting thrown into the fire, and I know, I really honestly believe that they didn't know if God was going to spare their life. They had no idea. They knew what they had to do for their faith, but they didn't know how this was going to pan out. And we don't know how things are going to, come out in the end a lot of times in life. We know what we need to do. We know the right from wrong, and we just hope that it all kind of works out, just because we know that that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what they did. So going in there had to be pretty scary for 14-year-olds, especially. It would be scary for me. And I'm a lot older than 14. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some pretend flames with this.
So I muted Mr. Ted and sped him up a little bit. But guys, I want us to think about if we were one of those boys, and we just disobeyed the king. And we could see, him throwing more wood into the furnace and getting hotter and hotter. I mean, look at this. It's like lava. You can just see how hot it's getting. Would it be hard to trust God? Do you think that we would trust God enough to actually obey him, even over the king, even over being thrown in the furnace? Well, the Bible says these boys did, and they were thrown into the furnace. Watch what God did next.
What I've got here is I've just got a bowl of water with some bath bubbles. What do you call it? Bath? Soap bath?
Bubble bath.
Bubble bath. Thank you. Bubble bath.
So I sped up Mr. Ted just a little bit, but I want you guys to think about for a second, what would happen if you just obeyed God and got thrown into a furnace? What do you think would happen? Well, the Bible says that God himself appeared with these three boys. And God does something amazing. God does not take away the fire. Instead, God does a miracle with the boys in the fire. I love this story because God went with them, did not take away the flames. Also, disclaimer, guys, Ted is a professional at something, so do not try this at home. He is great at what he does, and low-key kind of scared me, but check this out.
Woo! That was pretty cool, wasn't it? This is really what the boys probably, and this is really funky, the bubbles are popping in my hand, but they are snapping, like snap, crackle, pop. But this is the kind of fire that they actually had, that when they walked into the fiery furnace, that's how it had to have been. They actually walked into this and had the fire all around them. Now this, I will admit, that gets I feel the warmth of the fire, but it's not singeing me, and my hairs are still on my hand. I wish I could get some on the back side here, and maybe I can show you what it's doing. So I've got some bubbles here. But then, no sense. I smell the butane a little bit. But the butane fuel is actually in the bubbles now instead of the air that we would normally have, because of what I'm making the bubbles with. But it just kind of gives us an idea of just what those boys might have. And bear in mind, it didn't just kind of look at their hand and just go away in just a few seconds like this is. It was around them the whole time that they were in there. And they were walking around, they didn't feel a thing. So this is just kind of fun. Little experiment. That actually lasted a whole while, didn't it? Let's see if we can do that again. Isn't that cool? But it just shows how wonderful our God is, that he can get us through that kind of thing. One last little thing here. Are you guys ready?
Move the can. Move the can. Move the can.
Oh, move the can. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kind of stinks.
Ooh, look at that. It's still kind of going.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a good idea this might actually explode. No, I'm just kidding. Now I'll actually come over here.
Woo!
That's it. That's the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Hope you guys have a great week this week. Take care.
Wow, what an amazing story. I mean, not just the fire, but guys, this actually happened. Jesus actually helped those three boys in the furnace, and man, what an amazing miracle. So guys, I don't know about you, but we don't have to be afraid. When we are following God and we are doing what he tells us, we can be fearless because God is with us, even through the flames. So whether it's, a fear of being burnt in a furnace, or maybe it's peer pressure from a friend, when we do the right thing, when we know we're obeying God, anything is possible. There's always the blessing when we choose to obey Jesus. So guys, I hope you're encouraged. I let Story. Thank you, Ted and Karen, for filming and recording. And guys, I just want to challenge you, how can you trust God this week? What's something you can do? Like, you know what? I don't know if I'm obeying God, and maybe I should be a little fearful of my sin. How can I choose to trust Jesus even when it's hard? So think about that. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to email me here below on the screen. We'll put that up there for you guys. But yeah, we want to have feedback, and maybe in our next videos we'll even do some like shepherd time. I know that Kristen, Darcy, and Tracy miss you guys, and we'll have to pray for you. So if you guys have any questions or prayer requests, please leave a comment or email me below. So thanks guys, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.